All right. Howdy, everybody. And howdy, Ashley.
Hello.
And so today, again, Ashley has decided to help me out, which I greatly appreciate, in the next installment of the Republic. And today, we are going to be looking at the Republic of the United States. Fancy that. So let's get right into this. And if you have any questions or comments, please put it down below the video and we'll get to them as soon as possible. We're trying to get these out fast because world events are happening fast. So at any rate, let's get to it. The Republic of the United States. If I can find the right page. There we go. Okay.
Okay. Before we delve into the founding of the Republic of the United States of America, we are going to do a brief recap of what we have covered up to this point. According to Greek philosopher Plato, the ideal form of government would be a republic. This would be a caste system whereby an aristocratic caste of philosophers and artisans rule society by benevolent decree via the enforcement of the warrior class and built by the craftsman-tradesman caste for the benefit of the all you other non-contributor or justice caste. This concept was modified by the United Romans to form the Republic of Rome. They simplified the caste system by cutting it in half, consisting only of patricians and plebeians, with the military enforcers being made up of members of both castes. As Rome evolved, the nobility of being patrician faded, and simple wealth and power enabled willful plebeians an ascension to a more respected position in society. And I can't read that bottom part, so I'm going to go back to my paper. Okay. All matters of government were to be guided by the 12 tables or laws, the supreme law of the Republic. As Republic morphed into empire, Rome saw the rise of a dictator for life in Julius Caesar, but maintained a form of representative government with the Senate and councils. Faraway conquered lands were ruled by client kings, with assistance from governmental representatives and troops from Rome. This chain of dictators for life ruled up to Constantine, who was the first emperor to adopt Christianity. Morphed again into the Holy Roman Empire, there was eventually an abdication of political power to various national kings, with the religious, therefore eternal power being held in line of the papacy, the office of pope. Popes guided the political affairs with declarations of a divine right to rule, given to kings, while they threatened excommunication from the church if said kings didn't hearken to their commands. Eventually, both monarchical and papal bonds loosened with the advent of Protestantism, and then the settling in the New World began. The first endeavors to the New World, specifically North America, were sanctioned by kings of various nations: Spain, France, Sweden, those Republican Dutch, and eventually the United Kingdom, or King of England. All of these initial ventures had one thing in common: greed. Money was invested in order to see a return. Kings granted charters in exchange for a pledge of a cut or share in profits made from the New World's abundance. As with early pre-Republic Rome, these factions fought with one another when they came into contact. Alliances were made with local indigenous peoples to help fight the other Europeans who had arrived. Eventually, on the eastern seaboard, England established dominance. Eventually, 13 colonies would be established, with governors dutifully gathering the king's portion and sending that wealth over the ocean to him. Despite the historical claims of native colonists being chapped at tax on tea, the true motivation was worldly riches. Why work for a king when we can work for ourselves? How do you convince a group of unencumbered colonists in disjointed colonies under different charters to fight for something in which they have no stake nor share? You convince them that they are sovereign unto themselves, answer to no one but the Creator, and all are created equal. You convince them that their conditions are deplorable. They are actually prisoners, with great potential to do anything they set their mind to, so long as they break free of the king. Does this sound like the argument used in Genesis 3 by the serpent? These people even took an image of a serpent to themselves. Don't tread on me. Having convinced a majority of the people that it was worth it to rebel against the tyrannical King of England, a revolution was fomented, battles were fought, a war was won. Now it was time to establish a form of government based upon the principles declared at the start of the agitations. What could possibly be the best way to govern masses of bellicose peoples? This is why the founding fathers, remember, patrician comes from the Latin word for father, pater, held multiple constitutional conventions. They knew they couldn't set up a monarchy as they had just revolted from a monarch. As they had declared each man sovereign unto themselves, they couldn't install a theocracy, religion ruled. They turned again to that spirit of rebellion which convinced them to throw off a king, the same spirit that convinced the patricians of Rome to throw off their tyrannical king, and they set upon the same form of government, a republic. History tells us that the founding fathers of the United States were wary of a centralized or federal government. Representatives of the colonies needed guarantees that their citizens' rights would be honored and wanted safeguards written into the new constitutional decrees. What was given in response to those demands was a Bill of Rights. After many drafts and reducing the loquaciously endowed proposals to 17, they reduced them further yet again to an even dozen. The Constitutional Convention sent out the 12 articles of the Bill of Rights for ratification by Congress and the states. Remember the 12 tables of Rome? The first 2 articles, or as we now say amendments, were later removed from the Bill of Rights to the U.S. Constitution. These 2, dealing with congressional representation and pay for senators, were relocated to elsewhere in the body of the Constitution, a magician's sleight of hand to hide the 12. And exactly what sort of administration of government did they decide for themselves? They chose a few tweaks upon the example of a republic given by Rome. As lead manager for this entity, they would seat an elected executive president. His power lay in the management of the day-to-day administration of governmental duties. This is done by his appointed and Senate-approved cabinet chiefs. Next would be the bicameral legislature to write the laws governing the entity, split into the 2 chambers of the Senate, charged with representing the individual states, and the House of Representatives, charged with directly representing the state's peoples. The third part of this entity is the court system, headed up by the Supreme Court of the United States. Their job is to determine both whether the executive branch and Congress are honoring the law of the land, the Constitution, and especially the Bill of Rights. Over time, this Republic of the United States has seen some tweaking to its governmental operations, experienced a civil war and many uprisings, riots, rebellions, been almost continuously at war, 223 out of 240 years, and greatly expanded U.S. territory well beyond the original 13 states. While one can dismissively state that these are common occurrences in any nation's history, the dragon giving great power and authority to the 7-headed beast likes to pay homage to the past. He repeats patterns because he gets the same results, often with more success with the next attempt than with previous attempts. Remember the serpent's promise to Eve? Paraphrased, rebel, eat the fruit, have your eyes open, and be sovereign over yourselves. This instigation to disobedience worked with Israel's King Saul, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. King Zedekiah, with the patricians of Rome, and with the founding fathers of the United States. It is the same spirit working overtime today, grinding the machinations of the republic against itself, until we the people find their populist leader and proclaim, "We have no king but Caesar." Just as the tribes of Israel cast off the living God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for a man-king of flesh, later for Caesar, so will the evangelical Americans cast off Jesus Christ as their sovereign king, claiming a flesh-man leader. Up next, we will take a neutral look at where the United States is now. How do its current alliances with the client kingdoms of the G7 nations give dragon honor to the Republic of Rome? And what lies ahead in transitioning from republic back to empire. Sorry about that earlier.
Okay, let's try that. So you did really well. I appreciate
No
it. Thank
problem.
you. Next, we're going to take a look at more of the Republic of the United States and more of the common features that they directly lifted from Rome to run the government and the country, and also how they run foreign affairs. So that one should be out pretty soon, hopefully in a couple or 3 days. I hope. All right. Anyways, thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone. Please like and subscribe and share this with other people because it's moving fast.
Yep.
So I love you all. Bye.